The hour of convening having arrived, all members of the House of Representatives will come to the floor and take their seats. All members will come to the floor. I'm going to ask the clerk to ring the bell. All members will come to the floor and take their seats. All members come to the floor. We're about to have our morning roll call. We're going to have the call of the roll. All members present will please vote green to signify their presence in the chamber, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? All members voted. All right. Clerk will lock the machines. Doorkeepers will please close the doors and keep them closed. We will have our scripture reading and prayer by the chaplain, after which we will pledge allegiance to the flag of our country. We have a very distinguished chaplain this morning, and he is going to be introduced by the chairman of the Fiscal Affairs Oversight Committee, Chairman Martin of the 47th District. Chairman Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, it is my distinct honor today to come before you to introduce our chaplain of the day, Mr. Bill Bowling. Bill is the founder of the Atlanta Community Food Bank, and he has served as his executive director in 1979. Bill started his ministry at St. Louis Episcopal Church, and from there he was led into this ministry of providing food to others. Ladies and gentlemen, I could stand here for a long time and tell you about the accomplishments of Bill Bowling, but they've been enumerated by others just this past month. I am fortunate today to stand and have sitting to my left the Georgian of the Year for 2011, our speaker, David Ralston. And ladies and gentlemen, our chaplain of the day is the Georgian of the Year for 2012, Bill Bowling. He is a special man who has dedicated his life to feeding others and helping to lead others to help others. And I am certainly no minister, not even a lay member of my congregation in the terms of the ministry. But I'd like to, before I introduce Bill, leave you with this verse today because I feel like it's what Bill Bowling has done with his life. And perhaps we could all open our hearts as we listen to his message and follow this scripture. In the English Standard Version of the Bible, Philippians 2:4 reads, "Let each of you look not only to his own interest, but also to the interest of others." No one I know in the state of Georgia has done more of that to help others look to the interest of others more than our chaplain of the day today, Bill Bowling. So without further ado, I would introduce to you our chaplain of the day, the founder and executive director of the Atlanta Community Food Bank, Bill Bowling.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. Thank you, Representative Martin, for the gracious introduction. This is truly an honor for me to be here and to kind of set in context our day and the work ahead of us. As Representative Martin said, I have worked for the last 37 years using food as a transformative tool, creating a network of 7 certified food banks in Macon and Columbus and Valdosta, Savannah, Augusta, Athens, and Atlanta. And we're building a new food bank as we speak in Gainesville. They make up the Georgia Food Bank Association, serving over 2,500 community-based organizations, distributing 84 million pounds of good, wholesome food in all 159 counties of this great state. We do this with enthusiastic support of tens of thousands of volunteers, young and old. I represent today not one congregation, but over 1,700 congregations statewide, over 70% of those agencies. Churches, synagogues, mosques, temples, serving their neighbors through food pantries for families in need, community kitchens to serve those without a home, food boxes for the elderly, after-school programs, backpack and summer feeding. And in those congregations and community-based programs, we counsel people on everything from how to access other services to education and job preparedness, to be employed, to spiritual support to give those who need strength to move forward in their lives. We partner with and have strong support and participation of government, business, universities, the faith community, civic organizations throughout the state. I think we represent the future of how government and the private sector will offer much needed services for those out of work and grappling with special needs. We are an essential part of that three-legged stool of government and business and the civic community coming together to make lives better. I would just, as a point of personal privilege, like to compliment Commissioner Clyde Reese of DHS, who has worked tirelessly to build a partnership with congregations and nonprofit groups in the welfare department. An agricultural Secretary Gary Black, who's helping us connect with farmers around the state so that we can distribute fresh food. In a time of shrinking resources, with a public that communicates it wants less government but no less services, we are all challenged to do more with less, to make the very hard decisions about our collective future. I would suggest that in a real way, what we're doing through community-based organizations is what Jesus did in feeding the 5,000. I think what Jesus did on that day, when thousands of people showed up, and there was no community kitchen or food pantry in that field where they met, and he had to feed the people because they came to eat both physically and spiritually and psychologically. And I think the real miracle today is that we are getting people to share what they have, from the manufacturers and the wholesalers and the retailers. From community food drives, we literally do thousands of them throughout the year. To many of you who run businesses, and many of you I've worked with personally, so that we're taking what we have, and we always have plenty if we're honest, and we are leveraging that to do more for people. So let us stand and take a moment in silence to commune with God in our own personal way, and I will follow that by a prayer. Please stand. Dear God, we pray for strength in this deliberative body to make the hard decisions. We pray for wisdom to make the right decisions. We pray for patience to find common solutions. We pray for courage to face our fears in those who disparage our motivations. And most importantly, we pray for a vision for a shared future and equal opportunity for every person that God put on this sacred earth. We ask today that a spirit of collaboration will run through our deliberations, that we might build back trust in each other and our common future. We give thanks for the leadership of this body and for their awesome opportunity to serve the common good. And in the words of the great writer Parker Palmer, we pray for healing the heart of democracy and the courage to create a politics worthy of the human spirit. Amen. Amen. Let us say the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God bless.
Doorkeepers will unlock the doors. Chair recognizes the Chairman of the Committee on Information and Audits, Chairman Davis of the 109th District.
Mr. Speaker, the Committee on Information and Audits has read and reviewed the journal from the previous legislative day and found it to be correct.
Chairman Davis of the 109th House District, the Chair of the Committee on Information and Audits, reports that the journal of the previous legislative day has been read and found to be correct. Is there any objection to the confirmation of the journal? The chair hears none, and the journal is confirmed. The clerk will read the resolution establishing the order of business for the day.
Mr. O'Neill, 146, moves the following be established as the order of business during the first part of the period of unanimous consents. Introduction of bills and resolutions, first reading and reference of bills and resolutions, second reading of bills and resolutions, reports of standing committees, morning orders, rules, calendar, privilege resolutions, through the resolution establishing the order of business for this day.
Is there any objection to the adoption of the resolution establishing the order of business for the day? The chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. First reading of House bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 669 by Representative Clark, the 98th. The bill will be entitled Act Amendment Title 50 relating to organization of the executive branch generally.
Governmental Affairs.
House Bill 677 by Representative Holcomb, the 82nd. Bill to be entitled Act Amendment Title 28 relating to general provisions for members of the General Assembly.
Judiciary.
House Bill 846 by Representative Knight, 126th. Bill to be entitled Act Amendment Title 48 relating to revenue and taxation.
Ways and Means.
House Bill 847 by Representative Maddox, 172nd. Bill to be entitled an act to amend an act creating Board of Commissioners in Grady County. 847, yes.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 848 by Representative Dixon, 6, bill to be entitled Act to enact shortening terms of office providing election members of the Board of Education, Whitfield County.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 849 by Representative Amerson of the 9th, bill to be entitled Act amending Title 3 relating to local authorization regulations for manufacture, distribution, and package sales of distilled spirits.
Regulated industries.
House Bill 850 by Representative Harold, the 106, bill to be entitled Act amending Title 29 relating to court proceedings involving guardian and ward.
Judiciary.
House Bill 851 by Representative Rice, 51st, bill to be entitled Act amending Code Section 48673 relating to reports and distribution regarding taxation of intangibles.
Ways and Means.
House Bill 852 by Representative Rice, 51st, bill to be entitled Act amending Code Section 101791 relating to consumer fees to implement provisions of the Georgia Lemon Law.
Motor Vehicles.
House Bill 853 by Representative Earhart, 36, bill to be entitled Act amending Title 2 relating to general provisions relative to agriculture.
Agriculture and Consumer Affairs.
House Bill 854 by Representative Hamilton, 23rd, bill to be entitled Act amending Title 50, Small Business Assistance Act of 1975.
Special Committee on Small Business Development and Job Creation.
House Bill 855 by Representative Hamilton, 23rd, bill to be entitled Act amending Code Section 465-167 relating to the Universal Access Fund.
Energy, Utilities, and Telecommunications.
House Bill 856 by Representative Scott, 76, bill to be entitled Act amending Title 20 relating to students in elementary, secondary education.
Education.
House Bill 857 by Representative Scott, 76, bill to be entitled Act amending Code Section 21A10 relating to consultation by the Department of Early Care and Learning on Early Care and Education programs.
Human Relations and Aging.
House Bill 858 by Representative Rogers, 26, bill to be entitled Act amending Title 40 relating to motor vehicles and traffic.
Motor Vehicles.
House Bill 859 by Representative Sims, 169, bill to be entitled Act amending Code Section 20-2-73 relating to suspension removal of local school board members.
Education.
House Bill 860 by Representative Carter, the 175th, bill to be entitled Act providing for a number of members, election members of the Board of Education, Lowndes County.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 861 by Representative Hardin, the 28th, bill to be entitled Act amending Title 35 relating to law enforcement officers.
Judiciary.
House Bill 862 by Representative Martin, the 47th, bill to be entitled Act amending Title 48 relating to imposition rate computation income tax.
Ways and Means.
House Bill 863 by Representative Hatchett, 143rd, bill to be entitled Act amending Title 50 relating to state purchasing.
State institutions and property.
House Resolution 1237 by Representative Martin, the 47th, a resolution urging the federal government to cease the collection of motor fuel taxes in Georgia.
Transportation.
Senate Bill 136 by Senator Hamrick, the 30th, bill to be entitled Act amending Title 44 relating to specialized land transactions.
Judiciary.
Senate Bill 300 by Senator Bullock of the 11th, bill to be entitled Act amending Code Section 26221 relative to definitions relative to adulteration, misbranding of food.
Agriculture and Consumer Affairs.
Senate Bill 301 by Senator Bullock of the 11th, bill to be entitled Act amending Title 27 relating to general provisions regarding hunting.
Game, Fish, and Parks.
Senate Bill 307 by Senator Ligon of the 3rd, a bill to be entitled Act amending Code Section 27223 relating to license, permit, tags, and stamp fees.
Game, Fish, and Parks.
Senate Bill 309 by Senator Jeffers of the 17th, bill to be entitled Act amending Title 27 relating to hunting, trapping, or fishing licenses.
Game, Fish, and Parks.
Through the first reading.
Second reading of House bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
HB 833 by Representative Hanner, the 148th, the bill to amend an act reconstituting Board of Education, Terrell County. HB 834 by Representative Bell of the 58th, the bill relating to imposition rate computation exemptions regarding income tax. HB 835 by Representative Roberts of the 154th, the bill relating to weight and dimensions of vehicles and loads. HB 836 by Representative Roberts of the 154th, bill relating to elementary and secondary education. HB 837 by Representative Evans of the 40th, the bill relating to eligibility requirements for HOPE grants. HB 838 by Representative Maxwell of the 17th, bill to amend an act creating Board of Commissioners, Paulding County. HB 839 by Representative Maxwell of the 17th, bill to amend an act to provide election members of the Board of Education, Paulding County. HB 840 by Representative Parrish of the 156th, a bill to amend an act creating Board of Commissioners, Emmanuel County. HB 841 by Representative Parrish of the 156th, a bill to amend an act providing composition election of the Board of Education in Emmanuel County. HB 842 by Representative Benfield of the 85th, a bill to amend an act relating to the Board of Education of the City of Decatur. HB 843 by Representative Benfield of the 85th, a bill to relating to agricultural commodities promotion. HB 844 by Representative Martin of the 47th, a bill relating to obligations of an authority, use of proceeds, status as revenue obligations, subsequent series of bonds or notes, bond anticipation notes, interest rates, and issuance of validation. HB 845 by Representative Watson of the 163rd, a bill relating to early care and learning. Senate Bill 117 by Senator Stone of the 23rd, a bill relating to exemptions from levy and sales of property. Senate Bill 306 by Senator Bullock of the 11th, a bill to amend an act providing Board of Education Thomas County. Senate Bill 317 by Senator Grant of the 25th, bill to amend an act providing election of members of Board of Education Baldwin County. Senate Bill 318 by Senator Grant of the 25th, bill to amend an act creating Board of Commissioners Baldwin County. 3 second readers.
Report of standing committees. The clerk will read.
Representative Stevens of the 164th, Chairman, Committee on Economic Development and Tourism, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, Committee on Economic Development and Tourism, Senate consideration following bill of the House, strike made report the same back to the House with the following recommendation. House Bill 475, due pass by substitute, respectfully submitted. Representative Stevens, Chairman. Representative Yates, 73rd, Chairman, Committee on Defense and Veteran Affairs, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, Committee on Defense and Veterans Affairs has consideration following bill of the House, struck made report the same back to the House with the following recommendation. House Bill 535, due pass by committee substitute, respectfully submitted. Representative Yates, Chairman. Representative Willard of the 49th, Chairman, Committee on Judiciary, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, Committee on Judiciary has had consideration following bill of the House, struck made report the same back to the House following recommendation. House Bill 763, due pass by committee substitute, respectfully submitted. Representative Willard, Chairman. Representative Lane, 167th, Chairman, Committee on Legislative and Congressional Reapportionment, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, Committee on Legislative and Congressional Reapportionment has had consideration following bill of the House, struck made report the same back to the House following recommendation. House Bill 829, due pass by committee substitute, respectfully submitted. Representative Lane, Chairman. Representative Chanel, 116th, Chairman, Committee on Ways and Means, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, Committee on Ways and Means had consideration following bill of the House, struck made report the same back to the House following recommendation. House Bill 450, due pass, respectfully submitted. Representative Chanel, Chairman, through the committee reports.
House will come to order, please. The House will come to order. The chair recognizes Representative Oliver to introduce the doctor of the day. Representative Oliver.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We're very pleased to have today Dr. Stephen Holbrook as our Doctor of the Day. Dr. Holbrook is on the faculty of Emory Medical School in Emergency Medicine, lives in our neighborhood, and his children go to the excellent Magnet Shamley High School and Lakeside Outstanding High School in Georgia. Thank you, Dr. Holbrook, for your service again today.
Thank you.
Thank you to all the representatives, and thank you especially to Ms. Oliver for serving us for so long. Thank you for all your good work here in the chamber. Have a good day. And please stay healthy.
Going in these clinical stuff.
House will please remain at order. Please remain at order. We're going to have an invite resolution, and for that the chair recognizes the Minority Caucus Whip, Representative Hughley, for an invite resolution. Representative Hughley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, I have a distinct pleasure this morning to introduce an outstanding athlete and a great family from Columbus, and I'd like the clerk to read the resolution at this time.
House Resolution 1222 by Representative Hughley of the 133rd and others, a resolution commending Edwin Jackson and inviting him to be recognized by the House of Representatives. Whereas Edwin Jackson and the St. Louis Cardinals won the 2011 World Series championship game, and Edwin played for the Raiders baseball team at Shaw High School in Columbus, Georgia, where he led the team to the 2001 GHSA 4A state championship title against Columbus High School. Through perseverance, countless hours of practice, unyielding determination, Edwin Jackson and the St. Louis Cardinals won the 2011 World Series championship, and as this magnificent athlete and his team earned the well-deserved reputation of excellence by performing with courage and precision over months of training and competition, it is abundantly proper to call them champions. Now, therefore, be resolved by this House of Representatives, members of this body congratulate Edwin Jackson, St. Louis Cardinals, on their 2011 win of the World Series championship, commend him on all of his athletic accomplishments, and invite him to be recognized by this House of Representatives at a date and time to be designated by the Speaker of this House.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and ladies and gentlemen of the House. I've had the pleasure of knowing Mr. Jackson and his family for many years. Ever since he's been able to drive, I've known him. And he is a great young man, and his parents have done an outstanding job with him, and they're here with us today. Mr. Edwin Jackson Sr. and Miss Regina Jackson. And unfortunately, although he's not an athlete yet, Xavier is still in the show today. And so Mr. Jackson has had an outstanding year. He won the World Series with his team, and he became a dad. So he is doing great, and we wish him well in his future endeavors, and we thank you for allowing him to come and be with us this morning.
Just want to say it's definitely an honor to be able to be recognized, and I appreciate everyone's support. And it's this takes to show being a father is definitely the greatest gift ever, and I appreciate everyone. Yes.
No. Okay, House will come to order, please. We're about to go on to morning orders. Chair recognizes Representative Williams, Representative Al Williams, for a morning order. Let's give attention to the members in the well, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It has been my practice, as it is the practice of most of you, that you let bygones be bygones when they're gone, especially when it involves a dear friend of yours. That I had to this morning after thinking about it yesterday evening, because it's still in the process, and every once in a while we get a second bite at the apple. I just want to bring this to your attention again. House Bill 337. I thought about it. It's very related. Many of us have had sons, daughters, or maybe it was us, that served in the military. Anxious moments. You come home. It's a fact of life that all marriages don't work. when you sign the piece of paper giving them the rights to everything you've got, they're the apple of your eye. One day, they might become the demon of your eye, and you're sorry you signed anything. Fact of life is that if you've given years of your life to building a career, you deserve something. Being the spouse of a law enforcement officer is not easy. They're in harm's way. The spouses at home worry every time they hear a siren, every time the phone rings. They are worried. And so you fall out. They deserve something. 337 is a bill that transcends Republican, transcends Democrat. It just reaches to the heart of right. At what point do you do the right thing? Now, one of the greatest ladies, and I think one of the best first ladies this state's ever had, is First Lady Deal. I don't know what's going to happen in the Senate, but I certainly hope that if it makes it to the governor's desk, she begs him not to sign this. This is bad legislation. Folk deserve something. Whatever we do, let's just do the right thing. I am a product of a divorce. I know how it is. But I never wanted to hurt the person who I originally loved. Let's don't do that. Spouses deserve more than nothing after years of everything. If we get another bite at it, let's leave this apple on the tree. If we don't, let's ask our friends to cut down the tree. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
I'm going to ask the members of the House to be especially attentive and respectful for our next morning order. This one's sort of amazing, I think. As you all know, we have a live stream that goes out over the internet, and our honoree, although she can't be here today, and you'll find out why, she's watching. Chair recognizes Representative Dudgeon for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, it is my true honor today to say happy birthday to an amazing Georgian. Dr. Leila Denmark was born February 1st, 1898, and this is her 114th birthday. Dr. Denmark is currently, a round of applause. Dr. Denmark is the fourth oldest person in the world according to the authorities. Dr. Denmark was born in Bullock County. She went to Tift College, Mercer University, and was the third woman to graduate from the Medical College of Georgia. She set up office as a pediatrician, and actually she was the first intern pediatrician at Eggleston when they opened and admitted the very first patient. She has been an amazing source of inspiration to people during her career. She was a pioneer in the whooping cough vaccine. And she's always kept patients no matter what they could pay. She's always thought of it as giving back to her community. For many, many years, she practiced her pediatrics in a small farmhouse in Forsyth County on Mullinax Road. And during that time, you can talk to people who lived in my county for a long time, multi-generations of folks who went through there, and she kept care of them in an old farmhouse. She practiced pediatrics to the age of 103. Like I said, now she's moved to be with a family in Athens, but longtime Forsyth County resident. She has a quote which I really like, which is, she said, "You have to love what you are doing. Anything you have to do is work. Anything you love to do is play." And God has blessed Dr. Denmark with an amazing long life, and we're very appreciative that she's been such a great Georgian and done such a great job for our state and for our children. So we want to say happy birthday, Dr. Denmark.
Chair recognizes Representative Kidd for a morning order. Representative Kidd.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, it's with some reluctance I come this morning. I've been thinking about it for about a week now. But when you got a kookaburra and you have to sit as long as I do, sometimes that kookaburra takes precedence over other things. Most of us know the difference between $839 and $854. We can't imagine $854 million. A company in Georgia made $854 million last year. $15 million of that was money that we gave them. The state gave them a tax break of $15 million. Yes, they are a large employer of the state, and they came to us asking for money for not to pay the tax on gasoline that they buy and so forth, because they employed a lot of people. Of course, after they got this $15 million from Georgia, they terminated about 1,200 to 2,000 people, but still made $854 million this past year, and they project making this much this next year. And yes, we've already put in legislation last year, another $10 to $15 million for them this year that we probably can't take back. But what concerns me most is not the money that we've given Delta Airlines. Yes, that concerns me. But what concerns me the most is the mobile home builder in Putnam County. When he delivers a double wide, it's 6 vehicles that have to go deliver a double wide. The 2 tractor trailers, then the lead car and the trace car for the 2 trailers. So it's 6 vehicles to deliver 1 double wide. He's got 50 trucks and 100 cars that he's using. It's the log trucker. It's the exterminator who has 30 trucks on the road. It's a small businessman out there who's trying as hard as he can to stay afloat with gas prices going as high as they are. To me, the true backbone to the economy of Georgia is not the company that makes $854 million. The true backbone of the Georgia economy is a small businessman out there that has 50 employees or 30 employees and is trying to stay afloat. Most of you are a whole lot smarter than I am, and I would love for somebody to come up with a good idea that how we can help the small businessman, and I commend the Speaker for the committee that he's appointed to look into it. But let's don't forget the small businessman and try to figure out a way to give them a break, and somewhat overlook the fact that we give somebody who makes $854 million a $15 million break. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Byrd for a morning order. Representative Byrd.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning. There is another special birthday today that I would, on behalf of the House of Representatives, like to wish the First Lady of the great state of Georgia, Sandra Deal, happy birthday. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Brockway for a morning order. Representative Brockway.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On your desk today, you would have received a little package from Representative Lindsay that had this little handmade rose on it. And I wanted to point out to you, you'll also see a number of people around the Capitol. There's quite a few of them up in the gallery right now wearing these scarves. And what that's all about is an organization called Street Grace has rallied people to the Capitol in opposition to the sexual exploitation of children. As you all know, that's a serious problem in Georgia. And I've got a resolution here that I hope all of you will sign. I'll be over here on the side if you want to sign on with us to affirm our commitment to opposition to that and our continued fight against that. And I want to thank all of you for being here today, and thank you for your attention. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Why don't y'all stand and let us honor you? Chair recognizes for a morning order Representatives Ramsey and Representative Flood.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We want to just take a moment to welcome to the state capitol. They're filing in right now, the leaders of our business community, the Fayette County Chamber of Commerce. So if you could join us in welcoming them.
Joining with us this morning are Virginia Gibbs, President of the Fayette Chamber, Peggy Thomas, Chairman of the Board of Directors, Michael Burnett, Vice Chair, Greg Detweiler, Treasurer, Chris McDonald, Government Affairs Director. Please make them welcome.
We're about to go on to the rules calendar. Before we do, Mr. Leader, I understand you had a little resolution. Clerk will read a caption. Listen up. House will come to order.
House Resolution 1238 by Representative O'Neill of the 146, a resolution relative to adjournment and for other purposes.
Chair recognizes the Majority Leader of the House to speak to the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, good morning. I really regret I have to come with a change. This is our schedule out to day 30. And inadvertently, when we prepared this schedule, we did not take into consideration a national holiday, not a state holiday, but there's a national holiday called President's Day that many people celebrate in this chamber and elsewhere in our state very reverently. That is on February the 20th, and we were to be in session that day. So with your support, what I'd like to do is be out of session on February the 20th, recognizing that holiday, and make up that day so that we stay on the same schedule of completing our term here on the following Friday, the 24th, when we would have been scheduled to be in adjournment. Also, would like to let you know that, and we'll repeat this again tomorrow, we'll be coming in at 9 o'clock this Friday. We have probably a lot of work that day, and since it's a Friday, we might want to get an earlier start. And Monday, the 5th, February the 6th, which will be the 15th legislative day, instead of returning at 10, we will return at 1 p.m. Mr. Speaker, I'll be happy to yield to any questions. Otherwise, I ask your support on this and ask you to accept my sincere apology that we have to change this. It was my oversight, and I take complete responsibility for it.
You don't appear to have any questions. Gentleman yields the will. All those in favor of adopting House Resolution 1238 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the adoption of House Resolution 1238. The ayes are 161, the nays are 0. The resolution has been adopted. We're going on now to the rules calendar. The clerk will read the caption to House Bill 542. House Bill 542.
House Bill 542 by Representative Powell of the 171st, a bill to be entitled, Act Title 47, relating to service credible toward retirement benefits under the Employees Retirement System of Georgia, to provide for the transfer of service credit from the Georgia Judicial Retirement System to the Employees Retirement System of Georgia, to provide for the transfer of funds. This bill having been for the House Committee on Retirement, the committee recommends bill passed by a substitute, and the bill is being read for its third time.
Chair recognizes Chairman Powell to present the bill. Chairman Powell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is House Bill 542. It's a retirement bill, and it provides that a member of the ERS, the Employment Retirement System, Employees Retirement System, who was previously a member of the Judicial Retirement System, JRS, may elect to have contributions made into that system transferred to the ERS system. And Mr. Speaker, if there are no questions, I'll yield the well.
You have a question if you care to yield.
As long as it's not from Representative Weldon.
I'm sorry, Representative who?
Weldon.
Weldon. Okay. It's not.
I will take the question.
Chair recognizes Representative Dickerson to your left for a question. She waves. You don't appear to have any further questions. Any other questions?
Mr. Speaker, I would yield the well and ask for the favorable consideration.
Gentleman has yielded the well. Is there objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of House Bill 542 will vote yes. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? All members voted. If so, the clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of House Bill 542, the ayes are 160, the nays are 1. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 706. House Bill 706.
House Bill 706 by Representative Dudgeon of the 24th, a bill to be entitled, Act Title 20, relating to elementary and secondary education, so delete obsolete, unused, unnecessary provisions, to clarify a provision related to eligibility for enrollment, to eliminate a deadline for annual performance evaluations, to clarify the legal status of regional education service agencies, to provide the declarations of intent, attendance records for home study programs are submitted to the Department of Education rather than local school systems. Bill having been for the House Committee on Education, the committee recommends this bill to pass by way of committee substitute, and the bill is being read for its third time.
Chair recognizes Representative Dudgeon to present the bill. Representative Dudgeon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, I bring to you today House Bill 706. This bill is the culmination of months of work and study by the Education Finance Reform Commission. We had at least 4 meetings with superintendents and state school board members and the Department of Education to come up with areas in Title 20, which is the Education Code, that are either obsolete, bureaucratic, or unfunded. You would not believe how much stuff is in the law that we don't really fund, and we haven't funded it for years, so we were like, if we're not going to fund it and we're never going to fund it again, we need to get it out of the code. I put on your desks, since it's a long and complicated bill, a summary of it, and I'm going to go over some of the highlights of it, but I'm not going to get into too much of the details, but I certainly will take questions at the end. Just some of the highlights of things we're doing. We're allowing the State Board of Education to meet in cities other than Atlanta. We're undoing some of what I call the Linda Shrinko laws. Back during that time, there was some laws that kind of subverted the authority of the state school superintendent. We're restoring those to their normal situation for all our department heads. There's a situation where kids who are transferring into school systems from other countries, we're trying to enroll their kids at a very young age because they were in their schools in other countries were more accelerated, and this clarifies that it's still the standard 5 for kindergarten and 6 for first grade in Georgia. We had several teacher raise programs that we are cutting out of the code, and don't everybody freak out now. These things haven't been funded for years, and they've been supplanted by other legislation. Most importantly, the math and science incentive that we did a couple years ago is still in the code. But we're taking out several programs from the 80s and 90s that has never been done in a recent time. There's things in there about demonstration programs, been taken over by I-Squared and Charter. There's mandates on exactly how to do summer opportunity programs and how to do middle school after hours. Lots of sort of mandated programs, again, which we're not doing anymore. There was a law from the 60s on there that says that the state board was supposed to have policy and control over every $100 or more expenditure by a local board. Clearly, that's not reasonable for the state to have to deal with a $100 expenditure in the local board system. We're getting rid of that. 2 big paperwork things we're getting rid of where the local systems had to every year send their code of conducts to the state board, and they just piled up in the corner and nobody really did anything with them. And also a staff development plan. The local board's already doing this anyway, but they were doing all this paperwork for the state. And there's 2 areas I wanted to say to the end because I think they're the most interesting and most important in this bill. One is the State Board of Education has graciously offered to take the responsibility for reporting homeschool students. Right now, every local jurisdiction has to have a situation and a way for the homeschool students to report. I know in Gwinnett County in particular, that takes up a good bit of their administrative time. And the state is going to provide a central clearinghouse, mostly online, in order to do this function. And that way, one, it'll be easier to gather statistics, and also it'll save money at the local level because they won't have to have that expense. Again, nothing to change with homeschool reporting at all, other than just the state's going to work on it. And the last one, which is kind of how I got involved in this, is that right now, it is against the law in the classroom. I didn't bring myself, oh yeah, I did. If you were to use your smartphone, if the teacher had a lesson and said, hey, go to this website and y'all look at it and we're going to have a lesson, that's against the law in the state of Georgia today. A law passed in the era of beepers, when people worried about beepers in our classrooms, makes it illegal. In my county, Forsyth County, we have Bring Your Own Technology Day. They do bring these things. We have a waiver because we're I-Squared. But we want to go ahead and get that out of the code and say, you know what, we're going to let the local principal and the local superintendent make policy as far as how they want to kids use the technology in the classroom. Clearly, we're not saying we want them to talk on their phones in the classroom, but it is becoming more and more practice to bring an iPad, to bring your iPhone, to bring your Droid in, and to participate in the lesson. So that's a highlight of the bill. So there's a lot of moving parts in this bill, and so at this point, Mr. Speaker, I will be glad to yield for some questions.
You have some questions?
I will yield.
Chair recognizes Representative Hatfield to your right for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
I was looking at Section 20, lines 167 and 168,
yes,
dealing with RESAs.
Yes.
Is that going to affect funding of RESAs through the state budget in any way?
No, sir. It's not around funding. The Attorney General made a ruling several years ago that RESAs were not a state agency. They're really more of a creation of the local agencies. And this is clarifying what regulations apply to them. But to my understanding, there's no funding implications for this.
Okay. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Williams to your right for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
Looking at page 1, section 1, page 1,
Yes.
aren't we in essence want to reduce government? Are we paying, for instance, the school superintendent can call a meeting at any time. Now these members, aren't we paying them a per diem to meet?
I think the state board, I mean, their salary per diem, if I understand, I'm not sure, to be honest with you. The thing here was that every once in a while they wanted to have a meeting in another part of the state in order to get input and so forth for that part of the state, and it's harder for those folks, say in Savannah, to travel to Atlanta. This would be a special circumstance. I guess in theory you could say maybe it would introduce a little bit more per diem costs, but I don't think that's the point of why we're doing this.
You have another question if you care to yield.
I'll take one more, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes the chairman of the Ethics Committee to your right, Chairman Wilkerson. I'm sorry, not Wilkinson. Wilkerson. Back to your left.
Yeah, Dave.
Representative Wilkerson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
In section 25, it basically strikes out all the references to $100 or more.
Yes, sir.
One of the concerns of my local school board was the reporting requirements that they basically had to send all accounting transactions to the state every month. Would this help alleviate that problem?
Yeah, it's my understanding the state board doesn't want to do that any more than anybody else, and that this will help be able to not have to require all those very detailed transactions. State budgets still have to go from the local departments to the state board to look at the overall finances, but I believe it will address your situation.
Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, I'd yield the well.
You have no further questions, and the gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of House Bill 706 will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of House Bill 706. The ayes are 162, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. The chair would like to ask the members of this House to welcome to the floor a former member, the former chairman of the Game, Fish, and Parks Committee, former Representative Hanson Carter. We're glad to have him with us today. Representative Carter. What purpose does Chairman Maxwell rise?
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to ask for a bill to be transferred from Education to the Retirement Committee, House Bill 689. Both committee chairs have talked about it, and the author. Haven't got the bill yet.
I'm not going to recognize you for that motion at this time. I'll come back to you. All right, we're going to begin announcements. We've got several people. if you have an announcement and you haven't signed up with a messenger, you won't be recognized, and you need to sign up before you're stepping into the well. Chair recognizes for an announcement Representative Chuck Williams. Representative Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House. We all heard the chaplain of the day this morning talk about the great work that the food bank program is doing in the state of Georgia. I would submit to you that that program doesn't work unless we first grow that food. In that vein, this evening at the Blue Room, 5:30 to 7:30, the Advisory Council of the College of Agricultural and Environmental Sciences at UGA will host a reception. I would like to ask you to join us if possible. Thank you.
Chair recognizes the Lowndes County delegation, Representatives Black, Representative Carter, Representative Shaw, for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Lowndes County delegation would like to ask all of you to come down and join us tonight at the depot for the renowned bird supper. We got a lot of quail that promise you won't get no bird shot in them. See you down there.
Thank you.
We thought y'all were up there to tell us about that recruit that made his decision this morning, football player. I understand he chose a red jersey. Smart boy. Okay. Chair recognizes for an announcement the chairman of the Economic Development and Tourism Committee, Chairman Stevens, along with, oh, we got others here. Representative Ash, Chairman Wilkinson, for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, today, as you've heard, is the Georgia Food Bank Day. Whenever we're celebrating this today, if you'll look on your desk, there's an apple there provided by the great people from food banks. We've got some wonderful members, former members, that were served on the food bank board. Joe and Susan were there for, Joe and Kathy were there for 6 years. This is a really, really big deal. This is not a government program. This is just Georgians helping Georgians. Real quickly, 1.6 million Georgians are struggling with hunger, ladies and gentlemen. 27.9%, and this is on your sheet, 702,000 children essentially go hungry in Georgia. We are above the poverty rate, 185%. Please, if you get a chance to thank these people for what they do, they just want us to get out of the way, basically. Thank them for what they do every day for children in Georgia, for their education, and actually for their development, to make sure that children in Georgia are full. Thank you. Enjoy your apple.
And it's a Virginia apple. I gave him a
Chair recognizes Chairman Golick for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The House Judiciary Non-Civil Full Committee will meet at 1 o'clock this afternoon in room 132. Judiciary Non-Civil Full Committee in 132 at 1 o'clock. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Chairman Purcell for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Public Safety and Homeland Security Committee will meet in the morning at 8:30 a.m. in the CLOB 506.
Chair recognizes the Chairman of the Appropriations Committee, Chairman England, for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just want to remind everyone that subcommittees are meeting this afternoon to vote out their recommendations for the amended budget, starting at 12:30 with Chair Lady Houston's committee and rolling on through the afternoon. In the morning, 7:30 a.m., room 341, full committee meeting. We have two bills in front of us, the amended budget and potentially House Bill 806. So need you there for that. We've got to get out of the room before the rules chairman throws us out at 9 o'clock. So thank you.
Chair recognizes Chairman Houston for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd just like to remind you that tomorrow is Stop Violence Against Women's Day at the Capitol, and the Georgia Commission on Family Violence will be across the street at the Presbyterian Church. There'll be a light breakfast, and they'll be there from 9 to 12, and please stop by and show your support and meet with some of your constituents. Thank you.
Chair recognizes the Dean of the Northwest Georgia delegation, Chairman Williams, for an announcement.
Mr. Speaker, don't make me feel any older than I really am. Regulated Industries will meet today in room 515 CLOB, 2 o'clock today.
Chair recognizes Representative Ash for an announcement.
Delighted to see you eating the apple. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The House Education Subcommittee on Academic Support meets this afternoon at 2 o'clock, and the thing to note is that there is a room change. It's room 506 of the CLOB. House Subcommittee on Academic Support, 2 o'clock, 506. Thanks.
Chair recognizes Chairman Cooper for an announcement. Chairman Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Health and Human Services will meet today at 3 o'clock in 606 of the LOB, and would like to have our members there. This is a very important hearing. It's about psychotropic drugs and our foster children, so I don't think you'll want to meet it. So 3 o'clock, room 606. Thank you very much.
Chair recognizes Representative Dawkins Hagler for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Women's Caucus will meet today at noon in 514. Today, our sponsor is the Georgia Breast Cancer Coalition Fund, and we have a great caterer. So, any of you men who want to sneak by, we welcome you today. And also, the Legislative Black Caucus will meet today at 3:30 in room 230 of the Capitol. Oh, and I'm so happy, y'all. I'm a new grandmother. Don't I look good for a GG?
Chair recognizes Representative Setzler for an announcement.
There will be a meeting of the Cobb County Legislative Delegation on Friday upon adjournment. The location's yet to be determined, but we'll be getting a letter out to you tomorrow. To members of the delegation, if you have any local legislation you intend to have formally discussed at the meeting on Friday, make sure that you get notification out to all members by 12 noon tomorrow by delegation rules. But the meeting of the delegation will be Friday upon adjournment. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Frazier for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To all the Working Family Caucus members, we will have a special media training program today from 3 to 5 p.m. in room 216. So if you need to come by and brush up on your blogging, tweeting, Facebook, and also to update on your websites, please come by room 216 from 3 to 5 p.m. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Chairman Martin for an announcement. Chairman Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just wanted to make clear the Budget and Fiscal Affairs Oversight Committee will not meet today. We will yield to the appropriations subcommittees and encourage the members of the Budget and Fiscal Affairs Committee to attend their subcommittee meetings with appropriations.
Chair recognizes Representative Henson for an announcement. Representative Henson.
Morning. All of you have an invitation on your desk where your presence is requested at the first annual Go Red for Women breakfast. It's tomorrow morning from 8 to 9 in 307 over in the Legislative Office Building. Invite all of you. This is important, and we'd love to have you there. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Bell for an announcement. Representative Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to announce that the DeKalb School Board Reapportionment Committee will be meeting today at 2 o'clock in room 514. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Shaw for an announcement. Representative Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to let everybody know that the metal theft bill that we've been working on since midsummer, a lot of us have been working on it, but if you want to sign the bill today, I'm going to hang around for a while and I'll be over here at my desk. If not, just find me sometime today, or you can find me at the bird supper tonight at 5 o'clock. Thank you.
Clerk will read the caption to a group of privilege resolutions. I'm sorry. What purpose does Chairman Maxwell rise?
I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Speaker.
State your motion.
Move House Bill 668, I believe it was, 689. Ask it to be moved to the Retirement Committee from Education. Chairman's agree.
Clerk will read the caption.
House Bill 689, Representative Horn, 71st, a bill of entitled 20 relating to local boards of education, relating to state employees' health insurance plan, to authorize local boards to provide health insurance benefit members leaving office.
On the motion of the gentleman that House Bill 689 be withdrawn from the Education Committee and recommitted to the Retirement Committee, is there objection? The chair hears none. It is so ordered. Clerk will read the caption to a group of privilege resolutions.
First two resolutions are invitation resolutions. They're being read for the first time today and referred to the Committee on Rules. A resolution by Representative Cooper, the 41st, recognizing and commending Georgia State University's Legislative Health Policy Certificate Program and Advanced Health Policy Institute, and inviting their instructors to be recognized by the House of Representatives. A resolution by Representative McCall, 30th, commending the Future Farmers of America, recognizing February 21st, 2012 as Future Farmers America Day at the State Capitol, inviting them to be recognized by the House of Representatives. Following resolutions are being read for the first time today for adoption. A resolution by Representative Brockway of the 101st, recognizing February the 1st, 2012 as End the Commercial Sexual Exploitation of Children Day at the Capitol. Resolution by Representative Rogers, 26, on the life and memory of Patrick Kelly. A resolution by Representative Rogers, 26, on the life and memory of John Wesley Jacobs, Jr. Resolution by Representative Rogers, 26, on the life and memory of Betty Castleberry Richardson. A resolution by Representative Rogers, 26, on the life and memory of Frank Turk. A resolution by Representative Rogers, 26, on the life and memory of Johnny Wiley. A resolution by Representative Rogers, 26, on the life and memory of W. Woodrow Woody Stewart. Resolution by Representative Rogers, 26, on the life and memory of Herbert Glenn Harris. Resolution by Representative Rogers, 26, on the life and memory of Jetty Lee Whitmire Wiley. Resolution by Representative Rogers, 26, on the life and memory of Miller Leslie Watkins. Resolution by Representative Rogers, 26, on the life and memory of Carol Hudson Ure. Resolution by Representative Rogers, 26, on the life and memory of Gene Smith. Resolution by Representative Rogers, 26, on the life and memory of Edgar Brown Dunlop, Jr. Resolution by Representative Cooper of the 41st, recognizing Wednesday, February the 15th, 2012 as Lupus Awareness Day at the State Capitol. Resolution by Representative Cooper of the 41st, recognizing the Georgia Dental Association's Georgia Mission of Mercy. A resolution by Representative Hughley of the 133rd, recognizing March 20th, 2012 Alpha Kappa Alpha Day at the Capitol. A resolution by Representative McCall, 30th, recognizing the Legislative Livestock Showdown. Resolution by Representative Carter of the 175th, recognizing and commending Southside Church in Valdosta. Resolution by Representative Smith, the 70th, honoring the military veterans of the Vietnam War, commending the efforts to display the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Traveling Wall in Coweta County. Resolution by Representative Roberts, 154th, commending Georgia Institute of Technology on its award of the United States Department of Transportation Center. Resolution by Representative Williams, 165th, honoring and celebrating the 75th birthday of Mary Fullwood. A resolution by Representative Williams, 165th, honoring the life and memory of Molly Ashmore. A resolution by Representative Williams, 165th, honoring and celebrating the 78th birthday of Evelyn Richardson, a resolution by Representative Manning. 32nd, commending Children's Advocacy Centers of Georgia and recognizing February the 15th, 2012, Georgia Children's Advocacy Day at the state capitol. Resolution by Representative Sheldon. 105th, recognizing and commending Ms. DeCula Haley Wilson. Resolution by Representative Sheldon. 105th, recognizing and commending Tiny Miss DeCula. 2011. Resolution by Representative Sheldon. 105th, recognizing and commending Miss Junior DeCula. 2011. And a resolution by Representative Evans of the 40th honoring Liz Davis and commending her on receiving the 2011 Smyrna Citizen of the Year Award through the privilege resolutions.
Is there objection to adopting the privilege resolutions? The chair hears none. The resolutions are adopted. Those of you who have pages serving here in the house today, please come down with your pages. We're about to start page photographs, and they are lined up, and we need the member. There being no further business to come. I'm sorry, Mr. Leader, I got an important birthday today. He became a father last week, and today he celebrates his birthday. Let me wish birthday greetings to Representative Kevin Cook. Representative Cook. Now, Chair recognizes the Majority Leader of the House for a motion.
Mr. Speaker, I move this House now adjourn until 10 a.m. Thursday, February the 2nd, 2012.
On the motion of the Majority Leader that this House adjourn until Thursday, February the 2nd at 10 a.m. All those in favor of the motion will please say aye. Those opposed will say no. The ayes clearly, unequivocally have it. The motion is adopted, and this House will be adjourned until Thursday at 10 a.m.